Hi, my name is Brian with Ace Appliance in Toledo, Ohio, and welcome back to another quality video from ApplianceVideo.com. We have a Whirlpool Duet dryer, electric dryer, and the issue is it won't start. All of our lights and everything come on when we turn the control on here and hit and hold the start button. If you listen, we can hear the relay on the board closing, turning on. But nothing happens. So we know the relay on the board's clicking, but it doesn't start up and run. So we're going to get to, I got the tech sheet out, which is located by taking off the bottom panel. The tools needed for this repair are a multimeter, a 1/4 inch nut driver, flathead screwdriver, and a 3/8 socket wrench. And we're going to go through the tech sheet to test our control board. So the first thing we have to do is take off the top panel here of our dryer. There's going to be 3 1/4 inch screws in the back to take out. Now we're going to push our top back and then lift it up and off of the cabinet. Alright, so what we're going to do is gain access to our electronic control board, do some testing with our multimeter. So now that we got our lid off, there's 3 screws that are going to hold the bracket for our control board in place. So we're just going to remove those 3 screws. And now we can get at our control board here. There's going to be some wires attached to it. Try and get it out here where you can see it. Alright, so again, the problem with our dryer was it wouldn't start. It wasn't giving us any error code. So in the tech sheet, if you read through the tech sheet, they do show a troubleshooting guide, and they do show that if you press the start button and it doesn't start, it gives you a test to do, and it's test number 2 in our tech sheet here. So test number 2, what we're going to do is we're going to read the resistance of our motor and belt switch and everything in line in that circuit, the motor circuit. So we're going to remove our P1 connector and go from P1.3 and P1.4. We should get about 6 ohms. Alright, so we're going to remove our P1 connector. There's just a tab you push in on the side and pull it out. And we unplugged the unit already. And number 1 is going to start from the top here. So this was number 1 here, which is going to be our green wire on the connector. So we're going to test from P1.3 to 4. So we're going to count from this end. 1, 2, 3 is going to be our blue wire, and 4 is going to be our light blue wire. And it actually said we should get between 1 and 6 ohms here. So with our digital meter set to the ohm scale, and I'm not getting any reading. I'm getting open here. So something within that circuit is broken, whether it be the motor or the belt switch. So we're going to continue on with our diagnostic steps. Alright, so we had on our multimeter at the control board, we were reading 0 ohms, so we have an open circuit in the wiring somewhere, or in the motor. That's the motor circuit. So we're going to check resistance values of our motor. To do that, we're going to go through the bottom here. First thing we got to do is we already took off our bottom panel. There's 3 1/4 inch or 2 1/4 inch screws across the bottom to remove, and then you can take your bottom panel off. Next is going to be our air duct assembly here. First, you want to open the door of the dryer and remove your lint screen, and then you're going to take 3 1/4 inch screws off of the duct assembly so you can remove it. Alright, for video purpose, we're going to have to take the front panel off. Alright, so back to the control board to take the control board off. It is just going to be the 2 top screws at the top here, so we'll start that over. Hopefully it is anyway. So the first thing we got to do to gain access to the motor is remove our control panel here. There's going to be 2 1/4-inch screws on the top to remove. And now we should be able to lift our control panel up and off of there. Like that. You can see the back panel of this is grooved, so it slides down the frame of the cabinet there. So you don't have to take out the screws at the back there. Set this to the side. Alright, so after we get these 2 top screws loosened and the bottom screws out, there's also going to be 2 screws on the 1/4-inch screws on the inside that go into the front panel from the front or from the inside out. So we're going to go ahead and remove those 2. Wow. Alright, now we should be able to lift our front panel up and off of the 2 top screws. We do have a wire connection for our door lock here, so we're going to remove that so we can set our panel off to the side. We're going to use a flathead screwdriver to help us do that. So we're just going to release the clip here. On the side. And remove that. And on the bottom there's another connector, same kind of connector. We're also going to remove that clip, disconnect it. Alright, so I'm just going to support our control board and control panel so that when we take the drum out it doesn't fall down. You can put the screws back in for the control board. Now we need to remove our belt and take our drum out. So to remove our belt, I'm going to lift or pull our idler pulley as far as I can to the left side, and then that'll relieve the tension on the belt, and I can remove the belt from around the motor shaft and set the pulley back down. The belt's off now. We can lift up on the drum off of the rear supports. Lift the drum off of the rear supports and pull it straight out. Alright, so now that we're in down here at the motor, our belt switch is also in line with the motor, and that's what the first thing I noticed is that our belt switch basically is this little arm here, and when the belt is attached and raised up, that arm raises up on the switch and allows the switch to, the actual switch part of it to pop up there. And we can see even with that raised up, our switch is not coming with it. So it's not recognizing that our belt's in place. It's recognizing to where if our belt would break and this either pulley would fall, the switch would be down and closed, which would actually open the inside of the switch and cut off power to our motor. So it's thinking that we got a broken belt. It's just a bad switch, bad motor switch. You can see the button's just stuck there, and if we went to test it with our meter here, with the idler pulley in the up position, which would internally close our switch, there's going to be a normally open. If we go from each side of our switch here, I'm getting no continuity, and the switch should be closed right now, and it's not. So we need to replace our belt switch to fix our dryer. To replace our belt switch, it's going to be down underneath our idler pulley. So I'm going to take our idler pulley out so we can get to the screw that's behind there for it. We're going to use our socket wrench here. So now we can move our idler pulley off to the side, out of the way. And there's going to be 2 Phillips head screws to remove that hold our switch in place. Alright, now we can bring our switch out from underneath the motor area. Alright, there's our switch. We already disconnected this wire that went to it. Disconnect our other wire. And we'll put our new switch in. Okay, so we're going to take our new switch and put it back into position. The lever of the switch bracket comes through the hole. We can. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and connect our wire that goes back there. So it's going to be easier now than later. This new switch gives you the option of a normally open or a normally closed. This is a normally closed switch, so we're going to put our wire on the NC terminal, or the top terminal here, which is stands for normally closed. And now we can put our switch into position. Put our screws back to mount it in place. And we can attach our other wire to the other side of our switch on the common terminal. And now we can put our other pulley back in place. It has a spring. Just make sure the spring is hooked onto the hole of the cabinet here, the bracket, and the whole either pulley. Take our bolt and mount it back in place. And now you can see when the pulley is up, in the up position with the belt around the pulley and then goes around the motor shaft here, the switch arm is up and raised up, so the switch isn't activated there. And if the belt were to break, this would come down. You can hear the click. We weren't hearing that before, just because the button was stuck and wasn't releasing. So you can hear the click. If the belt were to break, that would come down, closes the switch, or opens the switch, which cuts off power, through the motor circuit so that it won't run with a broken belt. All right, now that everything's mounted and wirings are reattached to the belt switch and motor, we're going to go ahead and put our drum back in. Alright, so we're going to place our drum on the back rear drum supports, and then we're going to attach our belt back onto the motor pulley. Now we can reinstall our front panel. We're just going to put the front drum supports underneath our drum here. And then we're going to place the keyed slots here onto our screws at the top. And now we can put our screws back in. Tighten our top ones up first. Reinstall the 2 that go from the inside out. And reinstall the 2 at the bottom. We can reconnect our Molex connector at the bottom. And we can put our air duct assembly back on. put our bottom panel back in place. We can reconnect our door switch harness at the top. Alright, we can reinstall our control panel here. We're going to slide these two tabs that stick out of the panel down the front edge of the cabinet on each side. And reinstall our two 1/4" screws at the top here. Next, we can put our control board back in place. And make sure our J1 connector is plugged back in from testing earlier. We can reinstall our screws for that. And before we put the top panel back on, we're just going to start it up and see if it turns on now. And now our drum's rotating, and we'll let it run here for a couple minutes to make sure we got heat. And now we can put our top panel back on. I'm going to set into place and then pull it to the front. And now we can put our 3/4" screws into the back panel. Alright, so that was how to replace our belt switch on our Whirlpool Duet electric dryer. Thank you for watching another quality video from ApplianceVideo.com.